It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Well, we are now almost 3 weeks away from the most devastating fires that have ever hit Southern California. And it is now time to figure out what happened here and what we can do to make sure that something like this never happens again. I know everyone's seen those press conferences this morning, this afternoon, where it looks like there might even be more evidence about SoCal Edison sparking the Eaton fire. Still hasn't been 100% determined, but there seems to be more evidence leaning that way. We don't have an official cause for any of these devastating fires that have plagued Southern California over the last few weeks. But I was interested to see that California State Senator in the Bay Area, Scott Weiner, held a press conference on the fires and on the insurance industry this afternoon. So maybe now the state Senate is recognizing that we have an emergency. And before the fires, the insurance crisis was a major emergency. So I'm willing to hear him out. Maybe you are as well. So let's listen to Scott Weiner present his new bill. I saw this video. See, I follow every politician on YouTube. This is how I find out about these press conferences. So California Senate Democrats posted this presser this afternoon introducing the Affordable Insurance and Climate Recovery Act. You've already got me sold on affordable insurance because whether it's car, home, rental, doesn't matter. Insurance is getting unbelievably expensive for everybody. And how exactly are we supposed to be able to pay for it and still live here? So let's see how exactly Scott Weiner plans to make insurance more affordable in the wake of all these disasters. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Scott Weiner. I have the honor of representing San Francisco and northern San Mateo County in the California State Senate. We're here today to announce new legislation, Senate Bill 222.
Everyone got that? Write it down, 222.
The Affordable Insurance and Climate Recovery Act, a first-in-the-nation plan to tackle California's crises of climate crisis and also the massive problems that we have in our insurance market.
All right, I'm sold. Tell me, what do you got here? What exactly is SB 222 going to do to stabilize the insurance market in the wake of all these disasters? Let's find out, kids.
We know that Californians are paying a devastating price for the climate-driven disasters that have racked our state in recent years and that are escalating. The wildfires in Los Angeles, which thankfully are being brought under control, although now there is risk of mudslides.
There was a mudslide on Topanga.
The absolutely catastrophic wildfires happening in the middle of winter. And we need to say that again. Happening in the middle of winter.
Well, I mean, it's Southern California. The seasons don't really make that much of a difference here, but sure. The fact that this happened in January and not October is shocking.
Say that again. Happening in the middle of winter.
But again, it's not the fires themselves. Fires don't just start. Fires are sparked. Sometimes it's faulty equipment, like it's what being alleged at the Eaton fire. Could be homeless encampments. Could be arson. We don't know. We still don't know who started the fire that melted the 10 freeway. But yes, the fact that this happened in January means that we had a day with very heavy winds in January and not a lot of rain, and somehow a fire got sparked.
Say that again. Happening in the middle of winter. But of course, these wildfires are not the only ones. We've had, even in recent months.
You guys could really use a windsock on the podium today. That would help out a lot. Fortunately, there's nothing I can do about that in post because I'm not that advanced at this.
Had, even in recent months, fires in various parts of the state. We had extreme storms in Northern California last fall, causing...
How long is it going to be before he explains what this bill is and how it's going to change all of our lives dramatically?
Causing massive damage. We are seeing flooding, just all sorts of climate-driven disasters that are causing untold harm in our state.
I see what you're saying. I mean, every natural disaster is something that's climate related, except for earthquakes, because that just happens. I don't know.
We know that we're seeing people lose their homes, their businesses, people losing their lives, having their communities completely disrupted, multi-generational communities that are being torn apart from these climate-fueled disasters.
Okay, so what are you going to do about it?
And right now, when we look, these disasters happen, and then who pays for them? In addition to the victims who have lost their homes, have their communities just torn apart, it's us. It's taxpayers, because of course we step in to help communities rebuild, as we should. And it is insurance premium payers, policyholders, people who pay insurance premiums.
Yes, all of the cost of this fire is going to be passed back onto the people who have home insurance. And if you don't have home insurance, good luck getting it. We are aware of the insurance crisis. We've been covering it for many years. So what is your solution to this, Mr. Weiner? Excuse me, Senator Weiner.
We know that insurance in California is escalating in cost, and it continues to escalate, and it's going to keep moving in that direction.
Yes, especially because Ricardo Lara, the insurance commissioner, just gave the insurance company everything they could have ever asked for on a silver platter to increase rates exponentially and pass off the costs of the FAIR Plan going out of business, and still they're pulling out.
We are all paying for these disasters, but there is one stakeholder that is not paying: the fossil fuel industry.
What? Did I hear that right?
But there is one stakeholder that is not paying: the fossil fuel industry.
Okay. You better show me where you're going with this. I feel like a judge at a jury trial. Where are you going with this, Weiner?
Which makes the product that is fueling climate change.
Okay. But as far as we know, Big Oil did not start these fires. It's funny, Gavin Newsom makes the same argument all the time whenever he, spends every September now. It's a time-honored tradition where Gavin holds a special session to say Big Oil is screwing you. And I'm not here to say that they're not. But what exactly did Gavin Newsom do about it besides hold a big flashy special session, announce a bunch of headlines, and then no follow-through? But whenever he would talk about the fossil fuel industry, he would also blame them for things like the campfire, which is interesting because we all know it is documented that the campfire was sparked by faulty equipment from PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. Yeah, the company from that Aaron Brockovich movie. They've done a lot more damage since then. But Gavin, for some reason, says, well, no, you don't understand. They may have started the fire, but it's climate change that has made these fires so much worse. And we know who's to blame for that.
And this is an industry that has known that its product was fueling climate change and was going to lead to these disasters for decades because they had the science. They sat on that science. They suppressed it. And what
was going to happen if they released that science? Was our demand for gasoline and oil and everything that petroleum makes going to immediately disappear? I don't know. I have no idea.
And then the fossil fuel industry for decades has played a huge role in incapacitating government policymakers from taking the steps that need to be taken to transition away from fossil fuels and towards a clean energy economy.
Last I checked, the Democrat Party has a supermajority in Sacramento, and Gavin Newsom has been in charge for 6 years. Jerry Brown has been in charge for 8 years before that. And what exactly did Big Oil prevent you from doing since you become a senator over 8 years ago?
And they have done all of this in order to make money, plain and simple. And we know that they have made money. The fossil fuel industry has endless resources. Profits continue to just spiral and spiral into the stratosphere.
Where are you going with this? This is supposed to be about making insurance more affordable in the wake of these disasters.
And then we are left holding the bag in terms of paying for these disasters. And people who lose their homes or their businesses are left holding the bag.
You just said that twice. Where are you going with this? What does this bill do that is so important that you had a press conference on it?
And so SB 222 will allow or will ensure that the fossil fuel industry is part of the solution.
Okay.
It will allow those who have been harmed in these climate disasters to seek damages in court from the fossil fuel companies who have done business in California and who suppressed the truth.
So let me get this straight. Scott Weiner's bill, which you all took notes, SB 222, if passed and signed into law by Gavin Newsom, would mean that if your home burned down in the Eaton fire or the Palisades fire or any future fires, you personally can sue Chevron? Okay.
Going back so many years about what their product was going to do in terms of climate change and climate disasters. And it will allow insurance companies, which are paying out these claims and who right now have raised premiums to pay for that, it will allow the insurance companies to also seek damages from the fossil fuel companies.
So the insurance companies can also sue the oil companies in case there's a big fire and a big payout. How is this making everything more affordable?
So that those increased costs that insurance companies are facing aren't only passed along to policyholders, but that the fossil fuel companies are also helping in that regard.
Okay. Let's just say that that totally makes sense and isn't completely insane. If you sign a bill that says that, well, the real cause of all these fires is them big oil companies, and then someone whose house burned down can sue big oil, the insurance companies can sue big oil and recoup all of their costs, wouldn't big oil then pass on those costs right back to the consumer, which is everybody, because everybody uses gasoline or petroleum in some way, and would drastically increase, I don't know, inflation because transportation costs are a big factor in everything? Even if what he is saying makes sense to his perspective, how does that make anything more affordable? I am so confused as to why Scott Weiner needed a press conference for this. I don't think this bill is going anywhere, but he is a very important state senator, so we have to unfortunately take him seriously.
Which will mean less pressure for upward cost increases for insurance.
So your insurance bill will stay low, but your gasoline bill and all the other things related to it will skyrocket. You come out even.
Premiums. We know that California has huge affordability problems, and we know that ever increasing insurance premiums, those costs are going to increasingly cause some people not to be able to own a home or to have to give up their home because they can't afford the insurance. We're going to see more and more small businesses unable to get insurance.
Yeah, that's happening right now.
Which means they may
And I don't know if the way you fix that is, well, we're all going to sue the oil companies together. Gavin's been trying to do that for a while. Gavin literally is suing the oil companies. That lawsuit's going to take like 30 years. How exactly is jamming up the legal system even more going to make any sense? And I say this as an owner of an electric car. I'm not here as a shill for the oil companies. I don't give a crap about them. I just don't see how any of this makes sense.
Which means they may have to close. And so SB 222 is a really important step forward. And the third piece.
This might be the most performative politics I've ever seen from Scott Weiner, and that's saying something. Because this bill either is too extreme to never pass or makes no sense and will not be practically applied. And even if it was, it would increase costs for everybody.
And the third piece I wanted to say is about the FAIR plan.
The FAIR plan's involved in this too.
And the third piece I wanted to say is about the FAIR plan. Right now, the FAIR plan is our insurance carrier of last resort for folks who cannot get insurance in the private market. And this bill will require an evaluation of whether it makes sense financially for the FAIR plan to sue the fossil fuel industry. And if that evaluation comes back that the benefits outweigh the costs, then the FAIR plan will also be required to file, or will be required to file that lawsuit. Because in the end, if the FAIR plan runs out of money, right now it's policyholders who have to replenish the FAIR plan, the oil industry.
Yeah, it was the insurance companies, but Ricardo Lara gave them a nice pass on that one.
The oil industry should be part of that solution as well.
So Scott Weiner's bill, SB 222, if passed and signed into law, says in the wake of all of these fires and natural disasters, you can sue the oil companies if you were damaged. Okay. Also, insurance companies can sue the oil companies if they have big payouts. Okay. Also, we're going to study if the FAIR plan can also sue the oil companies. All right.
So we know that this is going to, I want to just be transparent, this is going to be a tough bill. We know that the oil industry has a lot of power and has endless resources and has a long track record of obstructing and sometimes killing reforms to take strong climate action. But we're ready for the fight. And I look forward to the conversation ahead and to moving SB 222 forward.
Well, there you go. There's the presentation from State Senator Scott Weiner. Scott Weiner says the way we get forward from all of these disasters is we allow you, the person who had their lives upended in a fire, in a flood, to sue big oil. Have the insurance companies sue big oil. Have the FAIR plan study if they can sue big oil. And that will make insurance more affordable. Does this make any sense to you? 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Scott Weiner says what we need to do to get ourselves out of all the costs of these climate disasters is sue the oil companies. Does that make any sense? And do you think they won't pass on the cost back to you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you have a reaction to the bill that Scott Weiner would like Gavin Newsom to sign, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. In the wake of the devastating wildfire, Senator Scott Weiner has authored SB 222, which he says is going to make your insurance more affordable. How? If anyone's home is destroyed in a fire or a flood, they can sue big oil. The insurance companies, when they have a big payout, they can sue big oil. And the FAIR plan will study if it makes sense for them to also sue big oil. My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this. Is that going to make things more affordable in the state? Does that make any sense? Do you agree with Scott Weiner's position on this? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Bill in Irvine. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, great topic. So, on the topic of Scott Woke Weiner, listening to that diatribe, it reminded me of those eco-terrorists in UK, maybe 6 months, that were throwing paint on Van Gogh paintings because they didn't like big oil, fossil fuel. The solution is not big oil, fossil fuel. He was going on and on about something that will never happen. That's never going to pass make any passing of the litigation in court. It won't. It will never pass. And here's the thing: is what these politicians on the left don't understand. It's not about big oil. Big oil he must have said climate change about 50 times. All right, climate change or not, it's about forest management. It's about, as Trump said 7-8 years ago, rake the forest. The solution is to manage the forest correctly, to even installing cameras on tall trees to watch and keep an eye on what's going on in the forest. You know, what happened to park rangers? Do you know what it costs to hire one guy, a park ranger, up in the wooded, forested areas to keep an eye on things? To have firefighters on standby. When you have a predicted Santa Ana winds in a very dry area, to have firefighters on standby, to test those fire hydrants on a monthly basis and make sure the water pressure is there, make sure the reservoirs are filled. It has nothing to do with fossil fuels whatsoever. Big oil did not cause any fires. Fossil fuels are going to be around for another 50 to 100 years. And it's about properly maintaining the wild areas that we haven't done in 50 years. These forests are out of control with dead brush. They need to be cleaned out, and we need to maintain the forest. And as far as the FAIR Plan is a joke. The insurance companies have left California because they know there's no forest management, and they know that the government in California, the state government, does not do any proactive managing of the wild areas and protecting. And we live next to an ocean, and they can't fill the reservoirs with salt water if they have to. Even if you can't get water down from Northern California, fill the reservoirs with salt water, for God's sake. There's no intelligence behind, and this woke Scott Weiner, you know, he's just I can't believe people vote for this guy. He said nothing of any technical substance to fix the problem. Okay, put on your scientific hat for a minute, Scott Woke Weiner, and realize that the forests are out of control, and the insurance companies have left because they're smart. Why are they going to insure houses in the middle of an unmanaged forest with no water? And you know, those insurance companies, they inspect the reservoirs. Did you know that? They know they're empty. The whole thing is a mess. And you got Scott Woke Weiner, who thinks he might as well just go party with the people throwing oil paint on Van Gogh and other works of art in UK, because that's all he's good for. That's all I have to say.
Bill, you said everything right there, and I'm not an expert, but I think your solutions might help us a little better than Scott Weiner's. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Senator Scott Weiner is proposing a bill that was going to make sure the insurance market is more affordable by letting you sue the oil companies whenever a fire starts. I think that's what he said. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get your reaction next. Do you think this makes any sense? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. And give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts by searching for the KABC News Blitz and hitting subscribe. We're taking your phone calls right now at 800-222-KABC on the bill that Scott Weiner introduced that is supposed to make your life better. The Affordable Insurance and Climate Recovery Act would allow anybody, if they had their home damaged in a wildfire, to sue the oil companies. When insurance companies has a big payout, they could sue the oil companies, and the FAIR Plan will study if they can sue the oil companies. And this is supposed to make the insurance premiums smaller for you somehow. I'm confused. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. We're going to go to your calls right now. If you're on hold, stay on hold. Let's start with Joe and Hemet. Joe, hello.
Hey, Randy. I was listening. You know what? It's nice people call in, but we know all the stuff about the forest and the trees. Here's my gripe. We should band together. The government should never let a scumbag, douchebag, moron, lion sack of garbage like this Scott Weiner in politics ever again. And again, I blame the people of California. Everybody, Republican and Democrat, should call for these people to never hold office. You know what? If we showed up by the thousands and called Newsom exactly what he is and that dumbbell idiot mayor what she is to her face every day and insist they resign, it's us, the people, that are letting this happen. I don't care about the insurance issue. We let it all happen. It's on us. Talk is cheap. You want to fight? Step up, beat up the bully. Don't talk about it. I'm sick of it's this, it's that. No, we all know that, man. We don't stick together, period. So, you know what? Let's go beat up the bully together.
Figuratively, he means. Thank you so much for the call, Joe. Appreciate it. We here at 790 KBC are not advocating for the beating of any elected officials. Only metaphorically speaking. There, I think we're covered. Let's go to Dale in Long Beach. Dale, hello.
Hello, Randy. Not your first name. Hey, there's over 6,000 products made from petroleum. You know, even there's a derivative in your toothpaste. I don't see scientifically how they're going to connect this in a court of law that you can prove that the oil company is the cause of burning down your house.
Well, not only that, Dale, but which one do you sue? Like, how do you know which oil company is directly responsible for this? Is it Chevron? Is it Phillips 66? How does this work?
This is Joe Biden. You got to pay your fair share. This is just passing on the buck to the big oil companies. It doesn't make any sense.
But then even if he is right, and even if this works, the big oil companies are going to pass that cost right back on to you. So your costs don't go down. In fact, they probably go up.
Oh, I figure they're going to go up no matter what. Yeah, only the people that would benefit is the people that don't drive. That's about the way I figure it.
There you go, Dale. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. But like he said, these, petroleum is used in so many things. Do you wrap your sandwich in a plastic bag? Do you have, think of everything in your life. There's definitely some kind of plastic involved there. I'm looking at my cat's cat box. That is plastic. That's going to go up in price. And of course, if you increase the cost of fuel, transportation costs will increase for everything, increasing the cost of everything. So I don't know how Scott Weiner's bill makes our lives more affordable. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Larry in Lakewood. Larry, hello.
Good evening. We really appreciate all the efforts you guys do. You do a fantastic job. Weiner is obviously an idiot. That guy sounds like he doesn't even speak. He just excretes words out of his mouth. But I think what we're seeing is just pervasively in this state, at the local or the state level, all the way up to the governor's office, massive amounts of just people that aren't good at their job. Weiner is obviously supporting some lobbyist interest. But what I would like to see is why don't we just start random drug testing of all of our elected officials? As a veteran, I was always, we were always sus. We could be randomly tested for drugs at any time. We should start doing that to our elected officials. This guy's a moron. I don't even know how he can hold office. It's beyond stupid. But once again, so much for my rant. Thank you so much for your time and everything you do for us. Appreciate it.
Larry, thank you so much for the call, and thank you for your service, my friend. What's going to be fascinating is if you drug tested all of our elected officials up in Sacramento, you definitely are going to find some people that are, doing coke at the lobbyist party. But what you'll find out is these people are this dumb, stone cold sober. Wendy Carrillo's not in there anymore, right? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Brett in Irvine. Brett, hello.
Hey, Randy, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, so you mentioned earlier that Moonbeam Brown was in for 8 years. Gavin Newsom's been in for 6 years. So that's 14 years they've been fighting global warming or climate change, and it's getting worse. So why is that? And if it's getting worse, why aren't they bolstering up the fire department? Karen Bass should have increased the fire department by $50 million, not decreased it by $50 million. And I want to know where that $50 million went, because it got diverted somewhere else, because we're not getting tax breaks. But the solution is to tax everyone that voted for Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, Weiner, and any of these Democrat leftist politicians, and we replace them with John Phillips, with Adam Carolla, Larry Elder, and who's the guy that Trump just put on out here that's really good?
Rick
John
Grinnell.
Phillips was talking about him earlier. Rick Grinnell, yeah, he's great. And just common sense stuff. But, yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think you make a really good point, Brett. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Although I will say, I don't think Johnny wants to work more than 3 hours a day, and I'm with him on that. Let's go to Richard in Burbank. Richard, hello.
Good afternoon. First of all, let's just say that Scott Weiner is the head clown in the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Newsom political circus of jokes. Gavin Newsom has been supported for his entire political career by big oil, to boot, Occidental Petroleum. And a few years ago, he signed a bill giving amnesty to all the power companies that really did cause some of these fires, like the fire in Paradise. So he speaks out of both sides of his mouth. This is never going to pass because Gavin Newsom can't sign it off because that's where half of his money comes from, is big oil. Occidental Petroleum and others are big donors to his campaign. They failed to, as people say, do any brush management, and they failed to divert water in Sacramento, which we already know, from going into the south end of San Francisco Bay, useless. And they haven't built the reservoirs that legislation has called upon them to build. So why do we keep voting the same idiots in and expecting a different result?
I think that is something that everyone needs to ask themselves in the next election when we have a chance to vote for a new governor and a new legislature in 2026. Richard, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up next. This is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Katie writes in and says, of course, Newsom and Sacramento don't want to blame PG&E or SoCal Edison for the fires. PG&E was Newsom's biggest campaign donor. Weiner is such a creep. And yes, PG&E was a big donor to Gavin Newsom. When Gavin Newsom dined at the French Laundry, it was for his lobbyist best friend, who's the lobbyist for PG&E. So, of course, we never want to talk about the utilities that actually spark some of these fires. Again, we don't know the cause of the Eaton fire yet, but it's looking more every day like it could be SoCal Edison. And, of course, we never want to talk about the homeless that start a lot of these fires. But, yes, let's sue big oil and that'll solve everything. Hey, look at this. 790 KABC welcomes Nine Inch Nails to the Kia Forum on September 18th. Tickets are on sale Wednesday at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We're coming to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones and go to Mark listening in Vegas. Mark, hello.
Hey. Yeah.
Hey.
Well, the first thing they need to do is like underground wiring. That'll eliminate all the problems with that. And like most states, even in the Midwest, they've been doing that for like 30 years. In Las Vegas, they do that for almost everything. They put everything under the road or under the ground and along it. And then you don't have these stupid power shutoffs. I mean, that's like real third world stuff there. And I couldn't believe it. It's like, even if I had a free $2 million house to live in, I wouldn't want to live in California anymore after moving out. And the best thing to do is sell your house before it burns down, and just because you can sell it for a lot of money now and buy a cheaper house, and you'll have plenty of money to spend on other things. That'd be the best advice, because you're never going to change those politicians. Most of them are hardcore communists. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They're against oil. Most of them don't believe all that global warming stuff. It's garbage. The climate changes all the time. In the 70s, during Jimmy Carter or before that, they were saying we were going to go into a freeze, like a global cooling. Now, then they changed it to global warming later. It's all BS. Most of them don't even believe it. And
what's so fascinating, Mark, thanks so much for the call, Mark. What's so fascinating is even with all the efforts this state has done to reduce emissions, all that progress was wiped out with the fires in 2020. So you got to imagine with all the fires since then, we've actually gone backwards in how much damage we've done to the environment. And still, for some reason, the answer is not to underground the wires. You know, PG&E, in the wake of the Camp Fire and getting bailed out by Gavin Newsom, claimed, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start undergrounding our power lines. And then they started jacking up everybody's rates to pay for it because, of course, they're not going to lower their profit margin. And Gavin doesn't seem to care about that. Well, people were complaining to Gavin about the price of energy was getting too expensive. So what did Gavin do? He signed an executive order saying, okay, PG&E doesn't really have to underground the power lines. I don't care how expensive it is. When you drive around these wooded areas and you see all these power poles everywhere, you know what can happen. It's always going to be cheaper in the long run, but we have a lot of short-sighted people who don't seem to want to do anything about that. Don't know if that's the cause of this, but it has been the cause of so many wildfires. How do we not work on that immediately? Let's go to Michael in City of Industry. Michael, hello.
Yeah, hi, Randy. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you, Randy. You know, Randy, in a way, I kind of agree with the last caller from Las Vegas about the fact, because in the 70s, I remember reading how they thought there was going to be an ice age. But that's not why I called. This guy, Weiner, is a total idiot. He's got absolutely no brains. But I'll tell you something. I wouldn't be surprised if his bill passed, because these are the same people that voted in George Gascon. And they're never going to learn their lesson, these liberals, that their minds are crazy until it gets so bad. Like what happened in New York, they never elected a Republican mayor until the crime got so bad in New York that they finally elected Giuliani, and he cleaned up the city. And that's what's going to have to happen here. But I don't think it's going to happen for a while. These people are just entrenched in their philosophy, and I don't think that's going to change.
I think you got a point, Michael. Thanks so much for the call. Robert, you got 20 seconds. Robert, hello.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't understand why we just don't elect new officials. I mean, we have the power. I mean, it's really that simple. We complain about Schiff, we complain about Pelosi, we complain about Newsom. Why don't we just elect new officials?
I think you got a great point. That's up to us, and it's on us if we keep the same people, like Karen Bass. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.